My name's Jordan. I grew up in a small suburban town in Pennsylvania, one of those places where everyone knows your name, and most people look the same. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't always feel different. Not at first. I was the only black kid in my friend group, but back in elementary and middle school, that didn't mean much. We rode bikes together, played Xbox until 2 a.m., slept over at each other's houses, ate mac and cheese at each other's kitchen tables. It was real. Or at least, I thought it was. My best friend since second grade was Caleb. Blonde hair, green eyes, the type of guy whose dad coached Little League and mom baked brownies for the PTA. He was funny, always had my back in a schoolyard fight, and introduced me to skateboarding. That boy could really skate. His family was nice, polite. But I always felt this thing. Like they smiled a bit too much. Like I was being tolerated instead of embraced. You know that fake kind of hospitality where they say, "You're always welcome here," but also double check if you're wearing clean shoes? I brushed it off. I told myself it was just me being sensitive. I had to. Because these were my people. My only people. But then, something changed. I remember it so clearly, I could paint the scene blindfolded. It was that one hot July weekend, 4th of July barbecue at Caleb's house. His folks threw the biggest one in the neighborhood every year. Bouncy house for kids. Beer for the dads. Classic rock and country blasting from a Bluetooth speaker that never quite worked right. I showed up in my new Jordans. Fresh white tee, clean-cut jeans. You know, trying to look right. Trying to fit in. I got there early and helped set up tables. His mom asked me to carry out the watermelon. Yeah, the watermelon. And I felt it. That pause. That weird smirk. But I laughed it off. Don't be paranoid, man. Don't make it weird. Later, we're all sitting around the fire pit. Most of the kids were drinking, light beers, hidden shots. Caleb's older cousin Rick starts talking loud. He's a big dude, ex-football player, buzz-cut type. Already red-faced from too many beers. And then, out of nowhere, he drops this line. You know what I don't get? How come black people always act like victims? Like, bro, slavery was hundreds of years ago. Move on. The air shifted. I laughed nervously, thinking maybe he was joking. Trying to lighten the mood. But no one else laughed. Except Caleb. Not loud. Just a chuckle. And that chuckle? It broke something in me. I said, Yo, what's that supposed to mean? Rick turned to me, half-drunk smirk on his lips. Oh, come on, bro. Don't be so sensitive. You're one of the good ones. The good ones. I swear my stomach flipped. And I looked at Caleb. Waiting for him to say something. To check his cousin. To defend me like I would have done for him. But he didn't. He just looked at the fire and sipped his drink. And that moment? That silence? It said everything. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying that line. You're one of the good ones. As if the rest of us were trash. And then Caleb's silence. That was the loudest part. That was the betrayal. Because I realized, all those years, I had been code switching, shrinking, softening my blackness to make them feel okay. Laughing when they made jokes. Letting it slide when they said, you people, or asked if I was mixed cause I talk proper. Letting it slide when someone touched my hair and said, Yo, that's wild. Letting it slide when I was the only one not invited to Sarah's party in 8th grade. Letting it slide. Letting it slide. Letting it slide. But that night, it all came crashing back. And for the first time in my life, I asked myself, were we ever really friends? Or was I just the black kid they could point to and say, see, I'm not racist, Jordan's my boy. I didn't answer their text the next day. or the next. I wasn't ready. I wasn't even angry yet. I was heartbroken. A few days passed after that barbecue. No text from Caleb. No check-ins. No. Hey bro, you good? It was quiet. Too quiet for someone who used to FaceTime me during boring math class just to mess around. And I sat with that silence. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe he's embarrassed. Maybe he doesn't know what to say. But deep down, I was starting to realize something brutal. He didn't say anything, because maybe he didn't see anything wrong. But I needed answers. I needed truth. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I opened Instagram and checked a burner account I made years ago to keep an eye on what my little cousin was posting. Never really used it. But now, it became a window into a world I wasn't supposed to see. Caleb and the guys had a group chat. They'd often post stories tagging each other, inside jokes, clips, whatever. I clicked through. Nothing weird at first. Then I got to Caleb's story from the day after the barbecue. It was a short video. Just him, Rick, and two other dudes from the party. They were all sitting on folding chairs, beers in hand, and Caleb's phone aimed low like he was trying to catch something funny. Rick says in the video, "Yo, I think Jordan got all up in his feelings last night. I guess he didn't like the truth." The others laughed. Even Caleb. Then Caleb added, "Yeah, man. He always acts chill, but he's mad sensitive. I swear, you can't joke about anything anymore. He's turning into one of those TikTok crybabies." One of those TikTok crybabies. That line stung more than I want to admit. I watched it twice. 3 times. My throat went dry. So this is how they talked about me when I wasn't around. After years of loyalty, sleepovers, birthdays, and bike rides? It wasn't even that they joked about me. It was how casual it was. Like I was a throwaway character in their lives. Background noise. I felt like I'd been living in a house I didn't realize was on fire. And the thing is, I started to think back. I started to really see things. Things I had buried or brushed off. Like that time in 9th grade when we were all playing Call of Duty online, and one of the guys dropped the N-word over voice chat. I remember freezing, waiting to see if anyone would call it out. No one did. Instead, someone laughed and said, "It's cool, Jordan's here. He gets it." Or when we did that dumb roast battle in sophomore year and one guy said, "Jordan's so black he makes Midnight jealous." Everyone lost it, including me. I laughed too, because that's what I'd learned to do. Laugh. Fit in. Pretend like it didn't cut. But now I was done pretending. The next day, I saw Caleb at the gas station. He was standing near the Red Bull fridge, scrolling through his phone. He didn't see me at first. I walked straight up, heart pounding like I'd just run a mile. "Yo," I said. He looked up, surprised. "Jordan! Dude, what's up? Haven't heard from you." I didn't smile. Didn't dap him up. Just said, "Saw your story." His face dropped. Not in guilt, in annoyance. Like I was the problem. "Man, come on. You know we were just joking." I stared at him. "Were you?" He shrugged. "Dude, you always take stuff too seriously. We've joked like that for years." I nodded slowly. "Yeah. And maybe that's the problem." He scoffed. "You're really gonna make this a thing now?" "No, Caleb," I said. "I'm finally done making it not a thing." And then I walked out. Didn't look back. That night, I got a long text from Caleb. It started with, "Bro, I'm sorry if you felt disrespected." And that told me everything I needed to know. Because anyone who says, "I'm sorry if you felt," is just sorry you caught them. Not sorry for what they did. I never replied. You see, racism isn't always someone in a white hood yelling slurs. Sometimes it's someone you call a brother who never once defends you, who laughs at you behind your back, who uses you to make themselves feel progressive, but never sees you as equal. That's the kind of racism that eats away at you. Quiet, subtle, polite, but deadly. And I finally stopped swallowing it. I finally chose me. I didn't sleep much after that conversation with Caleb. Not because I was angry. I mean, I was angry. But that wasn't what kept me up. It was grief. I was mourning the version of the world I used to believe in. The one where friendships were unshakable. Where people didn't mean it like that. The one where maybe, just maybe, I was overthinking. But once your eyes open, you can't close them again. The next Monday at school, I did something I had never done before. I spoke up. I walked into my AP US history class. Yeah, the one taught by Mr. Reynolds. The guy who always wore bow ties like it was still 1952 and thought quoting MLK once a semester made him an ally. We were midway through the civil rights chapter. Mr. Reynolds stood at the whiteboard, going on about Rosa Parks and peaceful resistance, like it was a bedtime story. Sanitized. Painless. And something inside me cracked. He said, "Racism was a huge issue back then, but thankfully, America has made significant progress." And I raised my hand. He blinked. "Yes, Jordan." I felt 30 pairs of eyes on me. I swallowed. Then I said, "With all due respect, racism didn't stop in 1965. It just got smarter." The room got quiet. Mr. Reynolds squinted. "Well, I don't disagree that racism still exists in some areas, but surely you can admit we've come a long way." I nodded. "Sure. But just because we moved the chains a few yards doesn't mean we scored a touchdown." A couple kids chuckled nervously. But I wasn't done. I said, "It's easy to talk about racism like it's history. Like it's something they did somewhere else a long time ago. But I've had teammates call me names on the field. I've had teachers assume I cheated because I got a high grade. I've had friends, people I grew up with, make jokes about my skin and call it banter. And when I finally spoke up, I got labeled angry, or too sensitive, or told I was making it about race." Mr. Reynolds opened his mouth, but I kept going. "I'm not sharing this because I want sympathy. I'm saying it because if we're gonna talk about history, let's not lie and pretend the fire's out just because the smoke isn't choking us anymore. Some of us are still breathing it every day." Silence. You could have heard a pin drop. After class, I thought a few people might come up and say something. You know, maybe, "Hey man, that was brave." Or, "I feel you." Nope. Nothing. Just awkward glances and people avoiding eye contact like I was contagious. By lunch, the whispers had started. I passed by a table of kids I used to sit with, including Rick and some other teammates, and I heard, "He's just trying to be some activist now." Like, bro, calm down. We all have problems. Another voice added, "He's making the school look racist. That's messed up." I felt like I'd become a walking threat. Like my truth made people uncomfortable, so they chose to make me the problem. And then came the real hit. That evening, I got called into the assistant principal's office. Ms. Loving. She was one of those "I see both sides" types. Always polished. Always professional. She sat me down and said, "Jordan, I understand you shared some personal experiences in class today." I nodded cautiously. She smiled, that kind of tight smile that doesn't reach your eyes. "While we absolutely support student voices, we've received some concerns from a few parents about the tone of your statements. They felt you may have been divisive." "Divisive?" I repeated, trying not to laugh. She leaned in. We just want to make sure you're expressing yourself in a way that encourages dialogue and unity. Unity. That word again. Funny how they always want unity the moment a black student speaks up. Where was unity when the jokes were flying? Where was unity when I was hurting? No. What they wanted was silence. I walked out of that office more awake than ever. Because that day taught me something ugly. People say they want the truth, until the truth threatens their comfort. Then suddenly, you're the villain. You're the troublemaker. You're the angry one. But I wasn't gonna back down. Not this time. I went home that night and wrote everything down. The story of what happened at Caleb's barbecue. The things people had said to me for years. The silence. The gaslighting. The loneliness. And then I posted it on TikTok. Not as a rant. Not as a pity party. Just raw. Honest. Real. I didn't expect it to go viral. But it did. The comments poured in. Black teens from all over the country. Bro, this is my life. I felt this in my chest. They want us to be quiet until we explode. And some allies too. People who actually listened. I didn't realize how deep it runs. Thank you for sharing this. That meant more than they'll ever know. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't shouting into the void. But it wasn't all support. Because the backlash? Oh, it came hard. DMs calling me race baiter. Anonymous accounts saying I was playing the victim. Even some teachers gave me side eyes in the hallway like I'd just set the school on fire. But I wasn't scared anymore. Because the scariest thing was staying quiet. After that TikTok went viral, things changed fast. I didn't walk through the halls the same way anymore. Not because I had changed, but because now everyone looked at me different. Some with curiosity, some with judgment, some with quiet, burning resentment. And the crazy part? They didn't even deny what I said. They just hated that I said it out loud. Let me take you back a bit. So, after the video hit around 300,000 views in 3 days, I got asked to speak at a student town hall. You'd think that was a good thing, right? Wrong. They didn't invite me because they wanted to learn. They invited me to manage the optics. You see, our school had a bit of a reputation. Rich area, mostly white, always boasting about diversity, because we had a black principal once back in 2011. So when the school went viral, not for sports or academics, but for racism, that was bad press. Really bad. At the town hall, they sat me on a folding chair next to the principal, a guidance counselor, and 2 students from student government, neither of whom had ever once spoken about race until that moment. And when they handed me the mic, I saw it in their eyes. Don't go too far. Don't make us look bad. Keep it clean. So I started with the truth, but not the version they wanted. I said, what I said online wasn't about hating anyone. It was about finally being honest. And if honesty makes this school uncomfortable, maybe the problem isn't me. You should have seen the way the counselor shifted in her seat. I wasn't rude. I wasn't angry. I just refused to play the safe black kid role anymore. After that town hall, 2 things happened. First, the masks came off. People I'd known since middle school, kids I thought were cool with me, started acting different. One guy from the baseball team, Mason, posted this on Instagram. Being woke doesn't make you right. It just makes you annoying. Not everything is about race. Didn't tag me. Didn't say my name. But everyone knew who he meant. Another classmate, Hannah, sent me a message. I liked you more before you started all this activism stuff. You're not fun anymore. As if being comfortable for them was more important than being safe for me. Second, the real one showed up. People I never expected messaged me privately. I've seen the way teachers treat you differently. I laughed at jokes before and I'm sorry. My little brother looks up to you. Keep going. One girl, Alana, a quiet Latina girl from my chemistry class, came up to me after school and said, I've been scared to speak up too. Your video made me feel seen. That moment, it reminded me why I started talking in the first place. But it wasn't all meaningful DMs and slow claps. The school board sent out a statement about inclusivity and how they take student concerns seriously. But behind closed doors, they started watching me. My social media got monitored. Teachers started grading me harsher. One even wrote, "See me," on an essay where I quoted James Baldwin. You'd think I committed a crime. All I did was tell the truth. Then came the lowest point. A week after the town hall, someone slid a note into my locker. Plain white paper. No name. I opened it. One line. Go back to where you came from. That hit different. Because I was from here. Born in this town. Raised on these streets. Played for their teams. Wore their jersey. Ate at their cookouts. Laughed at their jokes. But now that I wasn't silent, suddenly I was a stranger. I showed the note to the principal. He said, "We'll look into it." That was it. No email. No assembly. No action. Just silence. That's when I understood. It's not that they didn't know. It's that they didn't want to know. But I wasn't gonna break. Because for every ugly message, I got 10 more from people who said, I wish I had your courage. This opened my eyes. Thank you for saying what we couldn't. This wasn't about going viral anymore. This was about voice. About reclaiming space in a world that told me to shrink. So after everything, after the whispers, after the comments, after the advice to stay quiet, it felt like the weight of 1,000 eyes watching me, ready to pounce, ready to say, we told you to just keep your mouth shut. But I couldn't go back. I couldn't. Because there was no going back to silence. A few days after the note was slipped into my locker, I made a decision. I took my phone out, filmed a final TikTok, and posted it. No fancy edits. No filters. Just raw, real, and real time. I said, I've been thinking a lot. Thinking about the people who say that racism isn't real anymore. Thinking about how easy it is to forget when you're not the one getting hurt. But I'm done pretending. Done pretending I'm okay. Done pretending it's fine. I'm tired. Tired of staying quiet for people who would rather I be invisible. Tired of doing what's comfortable. And I hope this message finds someone who needs it. Someone who's ready to speak up, even when they're scared. Because healing doesn't happen when we hide. It happens when we show up, even when it's hard. That TikTok went viral. Again. But this time, it was different. There were thousands of people commenting, tagging their friends, sharing their stories. My phone exploded with messages, DMs, and even emails from people all over the country. Some from other schools, some from adults who'd been fighting for years. And the craziest part? They didn't just share their stories. They shared their plans. They shared their hopes. Their strategies for change. Their fights for justice. In the next week, I was contacted by multiple organizations, local activists, even a few college programs, people who had seen my message and wanted to help me amplify it. They wanted to listen. They wanted me to be heard. But here's the thing. They weren't just listening to my anger anymore. They were listening to my hope. So what happened after that? What happened when the storm calmed? It wasn't easy. But over the next few months, I was asked to speak at more schools, at community events, even to some city council members. I got the opportunity to be a part of a real change, in ways I never imagined. The thing is, my voice wasn't the only one. I wasn't alone. And I learned that the more we speak, the more our voices multiply. I also learned something else. The people who turned on me, they weren't my real friends. And the people who stayed silent, they weren't my allies. But the ones who stood by me, even if they didn't fully understand, even if they were scared too, those were the people who mattered. And yes, some of them were white. Some of them didn't look like me. But they understood. They understood that justice isn't something that's done when you're tired. They understood that healing isn't quiet. It's loud. And it's ours. Today, I look at the world differently. I look at my community differently. Because I know now that every voice matters, even when it feels like it doesn't. I know that the pain we carry isn't something to hide. It's something to share. So yeah, I'm still here. Still fighting. Still healing. And the people who told me to be quiet? They might be whispering now. But me? I'm shouting. And the world can hear me.